Guys, what's going on? Hope everybody's having a good day today. And me and my little buddy are heading back from Joplin. Been down there visiting Dad. He's back in the hospital, got a little bit of a urinary infection, so he's out of rehab and back in the hospital. And we're heading back now. Well, I just sort of crashed back there and thought it'd be a good opportunity to do today's tip. And I've been thinking about doing this for a little bit. I want to talk today about how to win tournaments, how to fish tournaments on a budget. And I'm going to give you guys some tips there because I've been there, done that, and I've got a lot of info to share with that. But hey, real quick, just want to remind you guys before we get started, you guys interested in any of the Fish of the Moment lake map breakdowns? Got a bunch of new summer maps out, personal map breakdowns, a lot of good stuff over there at fishthemoment.com. Check out our virtual seminars and everything. And also just a reminder that I'm still, over the summer, conducting my on-the-water lesson. So if you guys are interested in coming out in the water with me for an on-the-water lesson, you can shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Randy Blockett Professional Angler, and get all the details on that. So let's get into this topic about fishing on a budget, tournament fishing on a budget, which can be applied to regular fishing too, not just tournament fishing. But guys, if you are one of those guys out there that don't have a lot of discretionary income, that have a lot of bills to pay, that has a family to support, and you don't have a safety net of a rich family or a business that you own, you know, this is for you. Because man, I feel you. I've been there. I've done that. I know what it's like. And it's a much more difficult than, you know, a lot of these guys out there that have financial safety nets, which there's getting to be a lot of them out there. You know, I've talked about this before, about bass fishing becoming more of an elitist sport. You're seeing more and more guys out there that come from wealthy backgrounds, wealthy families, family-owned businesses, where they just don't have the financial distraction. So this video is dedicated for you dudes out there, like myself, starting out and everything throughout my career, that you know, where money and financial aspect is always an issue. Because I'm telling you right now, guys, you can do very well in tournaments, you can fish tournaments, you can make a living in tournaments on a budget, on a tight budget. And I want to go over a couple tips on that. But first the first most important thing that you need to remember about this is you have to decide what your wants versus your needs are. Everybody has things that they want, but you may not need those things. You basically need to focus on the things you need. Just like, for example, right now, guys, my truck I'm driving right here, 390,000 miles on my truck. You know, yeah, at some point I'm going to have to get a different truck, but the thing about that, guys, is you don't need it. Nobody needs to drive a brand new truck every year. You don't have to spend $70,000 and just so you can have a truck that's got 20,000 miles on it every year. You can drive these trucks for 300,000-400,000 miles. It's the only way that you're going to come out ahead in them. A vehicle is the worst investment you can make. So right off the bat, you know, when you talk about tow vehicles, don't feel like you guys have to have a brand new F-250 Ford with a 6-inch lift kit on it, 32-inch rims, and a iron cross bumper system on them like you see a bunch of these 20-year-old dudes out there that have now. You don't need that, man. You just don't need it. You can get you just a, you know, a good used pickup. You know, keep driving it. Don't waste your money on it. Same with boats goes on that. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have a brand new boat every year. And certain situations, if you're a touring pro, you got to have a reliable motor. You know, we put a lot of hours on these motors every year. But the main thing is if you're you know, getting into it, or you're a regional fisherman, you know, local fisherman, even if you do fish the pro tours, you guys don't need a brand new $70,000, $80,000 boat every year. I mean, there's a lot of really good deals on used boats out there. Almost every boat dealer in the country has a big selection of used boats. If you're on a budget, you know, don't feel like you have to finance a 15-year boat loan, you know, and have to shell out $700-800 a month on a boat payment. The thing that you need more importantly than anything else is a boat is nothing but a platform. You have to look at it like that. And the main two things in a boat that you need, there are actually three things, is you need a reliable motor. So you can buy something used and cheap as long as you run a compression check on the engine, make sure the engine's running really strong. Second, you got to have a really reliable trolling motor. That's if you're going to spend any money or invest any extra money, I would suggest getting a really solid brand new trolling motor. You really can't go wrong with that. That's a good place to put your money. And a good set of batteries, good strong batteries, good strong trolling motor, and a motor with a good compression check, even if the motor is older. One area that you can save a lot, guys, on a budget is your electronics. You guys don't need to have 5 units on your boat like you see a lot of these guys out there. So many of these guys out there now, they've got $20,000 worth of electronics on there. The only thing that you really need is you can get by with 2 9-inch units. I run the Humminbird Helix. I've got a 12 on the console. I've got a 9 on up front. You could actually get by with a 9 on the console and up front both. And to be honest with you guys, I could catch just as many fish with nothing but 2D sonar. I finished 13th in the Bass Master Opens Angler of the Year points race last year, and I didn't use anything but 2D sonar for the entire season. Qualified for the Chota Series Championship this year. I never used anything but 2D sonar. You can get by with a cheap set of electronics, 2D sonar, decent mapping system, and don't feel like you've got to drop $10,000 or $15,000 on your electronics. So right off the bat, if you guys just downsize and set back your expectations on your truck and your boat and how you rig the boat, you're going to save a tremendous amount of money, tens of thousands of dollars just right there. Secondly is equipment with that. I see another thing I see a lot of pros do is they got like 25 rods in the rod locker. I don't even own 25 reels, let alone, have them in my rod locker. All you need is like, 8 to 10 rods. You can have 3 or 4 spinning rods, 4 or 5 bait casting rods, and you're good to go with that, man. You really are. You can fish whatever techniques you want to fish. So what if you have to spend 10 seconds on changing out a bait? Not a big deal. Don't feel like you have to drop, tens of thousands of dollars on having 30 and 40 high dollar rod and reel combinations. You just simply don't need it. Bait selection's another thing. The biggest advice I could give you guys with bait selection is keep it simple. Figure out what your strengths are and fish your strengths. Because another thing about tournament fishing, guys, if you don't fish your strengths, you're never going to win tournaments. You're never going to, consistently place high. So you sort of have to feel or figure out what your strengths are in bass fishing, and just look for those fish. If you're an offshore angler and you like to fish football head jigs, spend your time looking for that type of water. If you like to shallow crank and flip, downsize your tackle and look for that type of water. If you're a finesse fisherman and like to throw wacky rigs, there's always that water you can fish there. So don't feel like you have to master every single technique out there and have every bit of tackle out there, to do good. Simplify your approach to fishing with your equipment and everything. So next thing I'll talk about is fishing location. One of the biggest things that I used to do years ago was I'd always try to run the farthest I could get away from the takeoff. This was back 30 years ago. And in doing so, you're always spending more gas money. I mean, I didn't think anything of running 100 miles one way. And even though I couldn't really have afforded it at the time, I just really wanted to get away from everybody. And I would, instead of, going out to eat at a restaurant at night, I'd go get some tuna fish at the store and make me a tuna fish sandwich at night instead of going out and spending $18 on a meal at a restaurant. And I'd put that money in my boat for boat gas. So if you learn to fish closer and learn to sectionalize the lake in areas where you don't run around as much, you can save a tremendous amount of money in gas. And same deal in practicing. If you're practicing, try to launch where you're going to practice at. Don't make those long runs. And over a course of a season, if you basically reduce the amount of miles that you drive, it saves you a lot of money in fuel, wear and tear on your motor, that type of stuff. Those are just another real good thing to do. Another good way to save and fish on a budget is don't feel like you guys have to go out to a restaurant and eat every night. I see so many of these guys, they stop in the morning and get them a sit-down breakfast, and they go to Outback Steakhouse at night and order a big steak and spend $25. You guys don't need to do that, man. Simplify your food intake. You know, make a simple breakfast in the motel or hotel you're staying at, or pack a breakfast, pack a simple lunch, you know, and you know, there's a lot of options that you can do for dinner that really cut your costs down there. Because again, over the course of the year, if you really reduce the amount of money that you spend on food, which really adds up, I'm telling you guys, food costs are one of the biggest hidden costs in fishing throughout the course of the year that you don't really give it credit for. You can save a tremendous amount of money just simply by you know, being a little bit more frugal with where you eat and what you eat. So anyway, that's just a few tips, guys, I wanted to share along with y'all. It all goes back to what I said at the start of the video. You have to decide with what you have to decide if what you desire is a want or a need to have. And you know, you don't, you know, really need anything that you don't need to have. I mean, it's nice to have it, but it goes back to like the new truck and boat or whatever. There's ways that you can cut costs in order to do it, because every little bit adds up. These tournaments are super expensive to fish, even weekend buddy tournaments. It all adds up. And like I said, everybody out there is not made of money. Everybody out there doesn't have a big financial safety net, rich parents, that type of stuff. So I feel you guys that are having a rough time out there financially, because I know what it's like starting out too. So anyway, hope that helped out, guys. Hope that gave you guys a little bit more optimism in the light of how expensive it is to fish. And much appreciate you guys tuning into the video, and we'll be back soon. See you.